on this live. I just got a couple of ideas that I want to process on this live. Who It's been really, really busy. I'm kind of traveling right now, moving around, stopping through ATL before I hit it to New Orleans. Um, but yeah, and it's gonna be like a real brief turnaround trip because I got to handle some business down there. You feel me? Um, but yeah, like I be on these groups on Facebook and I notice that we really getting caught up on that word colonizer, and I use the word too, but I'm a thinker, I critically think. And as a person who critically thinks, I understand that, we're often hearing that Negro people or Niji people are the Moors or Afro Indigenous people or Aborigine people, whatever you want to call this first group of people who had all this melanin, you know, um, we being the first, it wouldn't surprise me if we were like the first colonizers as well. Um, Today, Mansa Musa, who was deeply melanated, is still the wealthiest, man today. And it just gets me to thinking, like, if we were the first beings to rise to power and to amass wealth, according to the Sumerian text, according to the Egyptian hieroglyphs, according to all of these, the what the emerald tablets, we were a prized civilization before the reign of the Caucasoid, our Caucasoid siblings. Now, this is personally how I feel about the Caucasoid race. And this is not shade. I know people gonna think that I'm being shady. Y'all always think I do when I say certain things about light skinned people or when I say certain things about Caucasoid people. But I'm just, for a moment, let's just be scientific. Let's just be logical. You know, okay, so this hair was made to point toward the sun, right? And that's what a lot of plants do. They point toward the sun. Okay. Um, that's interesting. Yeah. So anyway, this is what I think. So I just theory, and I'm gonna break it down to you. I feel like, um, okay, so you know how you domesticate animals, like for example, you domesticate a wolf, and if you continue to domesticate that wolf, and breed that wolf with other domesticated wolves, and you take the runts of the litter, you consistently take the runts of the litter, and you keep breeding them together, then you can potentially get a smaller animal. And this animal, because it has been domesticated, because it's been taken out of the wild, um, after a while it can no longer function in that habitat because of how it's been being bred, and um, how it's disassociating now from its original inhabitants. And so, there's some content out there called the Big Head Professor. And the Big Head Professor was this deeply melanated being whose ancestors came from another planet. And they were, of a dark hue, obvious negritude. And I think in the story, um, some of the other darker beings killed his mother, and he wanted vengeance against them. And so he started to design a race that lacked some of the things that make us whole, that make us equipped um, for every aspect of our environment. So he started to purposely engineer people. You could say it was a form of eugenics. And so he started to purposely engineer people, and by engineer I mean breed them with other beings who had less negritude or who had less melanin, and he consistently bred the same people together. And he did this over a time. Now, back during those times, people could live up to hundreds of years, and so he was brilliant. So of course he was taking excellent care of himself, and he knew everything that he needed to sustain himself, and so he was able to create. Um, he was able to cultivate these types of beings for years. And so he basically domesticated um, part of the human species. And so, like, for example, wolves and dogs are from the same, they're ancestors, you know what I'm saying? And so that would be like how um, deeply melanated people would be. We would be the wolves, and Caucasian people would be the dogs. And I think some Caucasian people got their wolf energy though. Some of them do have wolf energy, honey. But when I say wolf, I don't mean more aggressive or more stronger or I just mean able to adapt and maneuver in the environment as it is. So you don't need technological advancements or creams or ointments or these things to maneuver society. And so you could actually live outside. You could actually live outdoors in the summertime and you'll be fine. Okay, so when I say wolf versus dog, that's what I'm talking about. And so the Negro would be the wolf, and the Caucasoid would be the domesticated animal, the dog. And so basically these Negro people, this Negro being, this deeply melanated being, started to socially engineer, started to domesticate the wolves, which was us, you know. Um, and it's funny because in a lot of like cinema movies, when they tell the stories, the black people are always the werewolves. So yeah, it makes sense. The same thing, the same way they socially engineered um, dogs from wolves, they basically socially engineered the Caucasoid to be more dependent on technology, to be more dependent on society, to be more dependent on housing and all of these different amenities, um, to need that, and so that could be celebrated, and that would make everything so exciting. Like that would change the game because now we're moving into more structured environments, not just out of desire, but out of necessity. And so that enables you to somewhat control this population because this population is vulnerable because it's dependent upon technology a lot of times. And so I think that, some of our ancestors were the original colonizers. I mean, that's just a thought. Like, a lot of people don't really say nothing when I talk about that, but it's definitely not far fetched. I could definitely see it. I could definitely feel it, and I could definitely sense it. Another thing that I wanted to touch on while I was on this live is suicide. Um, I've been seeing, the story about Twitch boss, and then someone else shared a story about I think her name was Chris Lee. She was Miss America, or Miss USA in 2019, and she committed suicide. Well, they say she committed suicide earlier this year. You never know when you're dealing with, people at that status. You never know what the tea is. You never know if somebody was trying to get rid of them because maybe they threatened to say something, or maybe they wanted to use their platform. Or you never know what's going on at that level. So, we're going to call it suicide, then hey. But I saw somebody who I had been following make the comment that suicide is the coward's way out. And statistics don't lie. Like, well, statistics can lie. Let me stop saying that. But we know for the most part that many people in society are afraid of death. Like, we live in a culture that's driven by fear, and most people are extremely afraid to die. Like extremely afraid to die. How is that the coward's way out when people are afraid to die? Like when like I think that is selfish. I will agree that it's selfish to take your own life because you leave people to grieve for you. You leave people, your family, your loved ones, they're grieving for you, they're sad about you being gone. So, I will agree that it can be viewed as selfish, but both of those human beings had accomplished things, within society that some people won't accomplish in a 60, 70 year lifetime. So don't feel bad for them. Don't be sad for them, crying, talking about gone too soon. They lived a fuller life than a lot of y'all. I grieve for his children, and I pray that his children find peace, and I hope that his children can choose a different path and can make different decisions. I hope that his wife, you know, is it can keep it together and be an amazing parent to those children, um, and that this makes them stronger and this makes them wiser and this gives them a more um, profound um, ideas about their existence, and that it doesn't break them and that it doesn't destroy them and they don't crumble as a result because he left his family with a lot of beautiful memories and he gave them an excellent foundation. Those children have an excellent foundation. You know what I'm saying? Like, he didn't leave his children all like little babies. You know what I'm saying? Like, they know him. They had a chance to have him in their life, and I think even the youngest one should still remember, should still be able to remember him at this point. He's had a chance to impact them in those years that are most critical. I think that the most critical years in a child's life, I hate using the word kid, um, but I think that the most critical years in a child's life, that foundation is them first 5 years. You know what I'm saying? If you do some amazing work in them first 5 years, you know, Teens always gonna be hard. Being a teenager, whether you got two parents or one, it's still gonna be hard. So, but if you got a good foundation and you were nurtured towards um, seeking knowledge and understanding things and like if you had a good sound foundation and they put music in your life and and you were able to connect on that frequency and get in touch with all of that, like the children got a solid foundation. I mean, I had father figures in my life, but my biological father, I ain't see him from 2 years old, but I still had, it takes a village, it takes all kinds, and so I still had that energy. I still had, that around me. I still had, men in my life who loved me and cared for me and were there for me. You know what I'm saying? So, but my biological father was absent, until I was in my 30s. And I think biology is good for one thing, like being able to see your biological father and your biological mother. It helps you to understand things about yourself that you probably did not understand. Like, why do I do this? Or why do I like this? Or why do I act like that? Or why do I have these gifts and abilities? Like, meeting your biological mother and father or your biological parents, it really helps you to understand certain things about yourself biologically, a man and woman. So yeah, um, I don't think it was a coward's way out. I think it was if he actually did decide that he wanted to take his life. Sometimes it's best because if he would have continued to live, whatever he was carrying that made him angry enough to harm himself, that could have transformed into something that would have caused him to violently harm hundreds. This man could have got access to a bomb and walked into a building and took 400 people with him. You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all be talking about it's the coward's way out, but people, you don't know what's on a person's mind. You don't know where a person head at, and you don't know what a person is capable of. And so sometimes them taking their own life is a mercy. It's a grace. So, miss me with the coward's way out, type of stuff for people like that. Because, like I said, we live in a society that's afraid. Most people are afraid to die. Most people live because they don't have the courage to off themselves. You know what I'm saying? They think they gonna miss out on some type of heaven. You know what I'm saying? But you could have happiness and joy, and then they be talking about rest in peace. How long you supposed to rest, my niggas? Like how much resting you doing? Like you got a immortal soul. Like really, how long are you resting? And y'all be so generic with that RIP shit. Like y'all be quick to tell somebody rest in peace. Like for real, that's it. Rest in RIP. We get sleep here. We get rest here. We get nights of sleep here. We spend hours in the ethereal. Like we spend hours in a different realm. Like we get rest while we here. Like I'm finna go in I'm finna go in my cocoon. You know what I'm saying? And we live in a society that does not appreciate that cocoon. But that cocoon is valid. We want to focus on the butterfly and we want to focus on the caterpillar. We want to run from the caterpillar and be the butterfly, but we don't want to address that cocoon. And that cocoon is that phase when things are stagnant, when things are still, when you're being refashioned and redesigned and reconfigured and you know what I'm saying? You getting ready to take on this new form, and that's That's not a beautiful process to some people, but that cocoon is valid. The butterfly, the caterpillar, and the cocoon, it like really honestly and truly, that entity is living three different is existing in three different forms: the caterpillar, the cocoon, and then the butterfly. And what is it before it's the caterpillar? Is it like a larva? What is it like? So like there's multiple manifestations, but we often just focus on that caterpillar and that butterfly. But that inactive stage in which it's being transformed, that is actually a phase in its existence and its being. And that's a RIP phase for the caterpillar because it's resting and rejuvenating and getting ready to remanifest in a different way. So when that caterpillar go in that cocoon, it's resting in peace and getting ready to come out of that cocoon and live another life. And so when you say rest in peace, what do that's my question for a lot of y'all. Like, what do y'all mean? Because I'm trying to get it, you know what I'm saying? Like, some people be done barely live. Like, the man was just 40 years old, and y'all telling this, y'all RIP in this man already. People be dying and they be 20 years old, and y'all be like, rest in peace. I'm like, y'all be RIP in little children. It's crazy. But I think it was one more thing that I wanted to talk about. Yeah, but I'm really like, you know, thinking about this whole black people being the first colonizers. And this one more point that I want to make before I get ready to go on this live. Hey, hey Patrina. This one more point that I want to make before I get ready to go. Black people always we're the only population, Negroes, indigenous, Afro indigenous, Aborigine people. We the only people that you hear saying he not black no more. He done lost his black card, or he not a part of the black community. And that's what make me think it be agenda. That's what make me think that y'all legit up to something and y'all trying to create something, because black literally comes from a word that means to bleach up pale. And a lot of the black people that y'all be trying to throw away, they living up to what black means more than y'all. Because the origin of the word, if you Google the origin, it means to bleach up pale. And a lot of y'all is bleached up pale in your spirit. You perform in blackface, but it's a whole nother entity that's really maneuvering in that vessel. And so a lot of the ones y'all trying to throw away, they really black. They more black than you, because the root word comes from a European word that means to bleach up pale. It can also mean to burn really dark, so dark that there's no contrast, there's no features. And it can also mean to just be really, really pale. So either way, it's just black. There's no contrast, there's no color, there's no character. It's just black. Solid black. And so, yeah. But this the thing that gets me about black. Like, I really, really not here for black people trying to throw away other black people, or Negro people trying to throw away other Negro people. Because let's be clear, as a person who has lived in Africa for 9 months, and some people will say, oh, you just lived in South Africa. But understand that South Africa is a hub and a lot of other parts of Africa migrate to South Africa. So when I was there, right, there's some white people from the hood, right, and got and giving you Negro energy down. So but there's some black people like in Africa, um, we've seen this time and time again. Black tribes beefing with each other, can't stand each other, hate each other. This is why they created different tribes because all of them don't um, celebrate the same kind of culture. All of them don't have the same values. All of them don't have the same beliefs. This is why they have different tribes. That's why when you go over to Africa, it's so many different tribes. It's Xhosa, it's Zulu, it's tribes I can't even name. It's so many different tribes over there. And it's because they don't all agree on the same things. They all don't practice the same things. They all don't have the same spiritual practices. They all don't have the same beliefs. So, what do y'all have to, and y'all love worship in Africa. Dr. Umar is always somewhere talking about African this and African that, and Africa this and Africa that. But in Africa, they don't even get along with each other. Wakanda is a fictitious place, but a lot of Africans can't stand each other, and they're from different tribes. But you over here in America, y'all talking about, oh no, he not black no more. He lost his black card. Oh no, we give him he could go over to there. We don't want him no more. What? No, I'm not from your tribe. It's that simple. He not from your tribe. And a lot of y'all telling on yourself. The ones you so quick to throw people away, and you so quick to say that he not black, he lost his black card, or she not black, she lost her black card. A lot of you telling on yourself. It's giving real colonizer. It's giving real oppressor. It's giving real massa in disguise. It's giving real massa with melanin. What gives you the authority to throw somebody away and to revoke their melanin? To revoke the experiences that they've had with this melanin. I don't care for Candace Owens. I have a love-hate relationship with her. Because I think she's beautiful and I think sometimes she's funny. But she irked me. But I can't deny her black experience. Because I'm sure that she's been called some things. I'm sure she's had some experiences. And a lot of black people, the only reason why y'all having all of these racist experiences, let's be clear, because I'm not going to sit up here and lie and say that I don't deal with racism and I've never experienced it. But most times when I experience racism, it be because I'm trying to be around too many white people. I done walked in the club and I'm the darkest thing in there. I'm trying to get access to their wealth, their resources, and so I'm in a white dominated space. And let's be clear, this country was designed without this melanin in mind. And so when I'm trying to be up in white spaces and white places around a whole bunch of white faces, I'm going to experience some shade. Because if they wanted to be around us, they wouldn't have created the environment to center them. Not all of them want to be in our company. And that's just the reality. Do I feel a way about it? Child, I was this it was a little short Caucasian man. We was standing at the hot dog stand the other night, and I think he got our tea because I wasn't trying to change my voice. I was talking in my regular voice. And when he walked off, he said, "You have a nice night, you guys." And he put emphasis on the guys, and it felt like shade. And I waited until he got off, and I said, "Jamon," but I know he heard me because I said it loud, "Jamon," because I hate that you guys shit, bitch. No, no, just say good night. If you don't want to say ma'am, if you don't want to say she, just say good night, bitch. I don't need a label. I didn't ask you for that. Your mom and your paw too. You guys. But like, and I done been in clubs and I done been in bars where when I walked in, you know, the Caucasian bartender was being shady to me. But I'm looking at him working for all of these other white people. Like, they be tap dancing hard for each other. They be shucking and jiving for each other. They be running and breaking their neck to service each other and help each other. And so when they see somebody like me come in, the stigma is you ain't got no money, you broke, you ain't finna tip, you cheap, da 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 da. And I'm gonna live up to your expectations because I used to be the type of person with negritude that felt like I had to impress Caucasian people. I'm gonna leave you a tip just to show you I'm not broke. I'm a do certain things just to show you I got money. Fuck all that. No, I ain't got it. I'm not in that phase no more where I'm trying to impress Caucasian people. Where I'm trying to prove a point to them. Y'all do that. I'm gonna let y'all do that. You think I'm broke? Okay, I am. I ain't investing in nobody who ain't investing in me. I ain't got it. These drinks high enough. They go $1, but I'm not finna try to give you $5 and try to give you $6 and $7 tip. No, I ain't got it. I'ma live up to your expectations. This a broke ass niggas. I rarely get a cash app from a Caucasian person. I rarely get a PayPal from a Caucasian person. I rarely get actual support from Caucasian people. I'm not going to say that there are not Caucasian people who have not supported me and who have not loved on me and who have not done amazing things for me. I will never sit up here and tell that bald faced lie. But by the huge majority, most of my support does not come from Caucasian people. And if it did, I worked for it. I've worked. I've got out and worked for it. I've had to do some work or some favors. So no, not finna be around here trying to impress y'all, trying to prove that I'm not broke and trying to prove a point to y'all out here peacocking for y'all. No. Mm-mm. I feel like Negro people are the Albert Einstein. I feel like we are the Frankenstein that created this monster. We was the one that was in the laboratory when it woke up when the lightning struck and talking about something. It's alive! It's alive! I feel like our ancestors created that Frankenstein. And I don't want to continue to perpetuate this narrative of, no, I'm not beneath you. No, you're not better than me. And no, I'm not better than you. I'm just different. Ain't nothing growing on the beach, boo. You don't see no nothing growing on the beach when you go on the beach. So I don't know why everybody prizing Kim Kardashian skin, because it's the same color of the beach. The reason why her children are so beautiful is because she mixed them with Kanye. But if she wouldn't have laid down and made them babies with Kanye, them children would have had a. I mean, they still got a commercial look. They still look commercial. It's still familiar. It's still a very familiar face. But they could withstand the sun. Let's be clear. When the Caucasians came over here, they was dying. They came over here with yellow pox and all type of diseases. They was dying, and them Negro, indigenous, aboriginous people was giving them herbs and teas and healing them and mixing with them. Compassion. That's a divine thing. Our ancestors weren't weak because they endured. They knew they were eternal. Some of them did. Some of them fell asleep in a field of poppies, got drunk up, got drunk off the wine of the world, and forget thee. Some of them that was the case, but other ancestors, they knew that we was eternal, and some of us know that we are righting the wrongs of our ancestors. I am not against interracial dating. I wish we all would pair up and everybody could get some melanin. I wish the whole world could be brown and chocolate and caramel. I wish the whole world had afros and dreadlocks and curly hair. Like I wish I ain't have to see none of that thin ass stuff that smell like wet dog with again. I wish I wish everybody was biracial. Everybody was, and I don't just wish everybody was like Kanye children biracial. I'm talking about like biracial to the point to where you wondering, is that biracial or is that just Negro? So I'm definitely not against like I feel like the healing will come and more of the truth will come out. But I think that some of our ancestors they actually they engineered that race. They did the and that's why it gets me when we calling out so much stuff. Like we constantly calling out things. But we be quick to say that we was the original people and we was here first. Well, what you think we was doing here first? Mansa Musa is still the richest man today. What you think Mansa Musa was doing? What you think the Moors was doing? What you think the Egyptian pharaohs and stuff was doing? They was colonizing the shit out of people. Our ancestors were the original colonizers. And what happened was the student became the teacher. You taught them too well. The student became the teacher. And this is the gag. In nature, out there, because I know there are ancestors that look like me that will never set foot in this matrix. They living out there in the wilderness, one with the animals, one with nature, ain't scared of nothing, diving in the water, talking to the lions. Like I know in my heart that there are beings that are darker than me that still living out there in them woods and them jungles in the most dangerous parts of the world and will never set foot in this matrix because they don't need to. The Caucasian is king in this matrix, but it was because this environment was made for them. It was made for them. Like literally, all of this technological advancements and shelter and all of that, them the ones who needed it. So why wouldn't they reign in a reality that was designed to center them? Like sitting up here being mad about it. I'm mad because when I get frustrated, it's because my family and my friends and the people that I love, I've been brought up in this reality, and it's hard to just stay and go back and just go into the woods or go into nature. Like, I've been in this matrix too long. Like, child, I'm gonna have to transition this body, But I hope next time I'm reborn, I don't get caught up in this shit, like thinking that society is all this is, thinking that civilization is all that it is. No, it's not. Like, there's other worlds out there. There's other realms. There's other dimensions out there, and we so caught up in this matrix, and now they got us even more caught up with these damn tablets and the metaverse and video games. We going further into illusion. We going deeper into the fabrication. Being entertained, having things enter our being and tell us who we are and tell us what matters and tell us what we supposed to value and tell us like like when I listen to Candace saying some stuff about telling my children what gender they are and da da da. We are made in the image of the divine, and the divine is genderless. Genitalia is just tools on this vessel for you to create with, but you are a whole. You come from wholeness. It takes masculine and feminine, egg and seed to create you. All they did was split the divine into two avatars and then brought them back together to bring you here. But we are a reflection and we are the likeness of the divine, and the divine has no gender. The divine has no sex. This is just all a part of being on this plane, being on this dimension. And so this avatar comes who has the egg, and then the avatar comes that has the seed, but it's all God goddess. It's all the whole one. It's all source. And source is just manifesting in different forms and coming together to replicate itself. So when you say you can't pick your gender, why I can't? Make it make sense. And to lie to me and tell me that I can't and to try to make me feel like I'm crazy because I think deeper and you can't just tell me anything is just you trying to herd the sheep. You're a sheep herder. Like I do think that the LGBTQI, all them alphabets get carried away sometime, and I do think that it's some foolishness afoot. But every demographic, every group have bad apples, have people who is selfish and for themselves and their intentions aren't necessarily um considering all of us. Everybody, every group has those. Why would why would all them alphabets be an ex, be be excluded from that mix? And that is why it was important to me to develop my own language and my own spirituality, because I'm not going to be led astray by that either. Look at your neighbor and say, I'm on a mission, and you not about to distract me neither. I love you. I love you though, but you not about to distract me neither. No ma'am, no sir. No ma'am, sir. No brother, no sister, no brister. Period. So yeah, I love my community, but baby, I'ma tell the truth. I don't care who it is. I don't care who I'm talking to. Mm-mm. No, I'm not finna spare you because I'm trans. I'm not finna spare you because I'm black. I'm not finna spare you because I lean more to my feminine side and see myself as a woman. Yeah, I may not let you have it like I could let you have it, but I'm not finna completely spare you. Cause honey, being uncomfortable builds character. You'll be all right. My grandmother used to always say, "What don't kill you make you stronger." You'll be all right. You'll be all right. But yeah, so yeah, that's pretty much my rant for this video. I ain't want to hold y'all too long. I wanted to get that off my chest, just some thoughts that I've been processing and some things that I've been thinking about. A lot of people don't like for me to say the things that I say and talk like I talk because it messes up their agenda. It messes up, they be trying to, work they little angles, honey. They be trying to, get the sheep, and steer the sheep and get the sheep to go in the way that they want the sheep to go. My mom got 3 homes. They focus on nothing but negative behavior. Child, when I tell you I'm going through the same thing, like, who I love my mama and my daddy, but I swear, like, we just be toxic. And this whole Christian thing, this whole like, this what I don't get about you Christians. Y'all so bitter and you always angry and you always upset. Not all of y'all, but I rarely meet a happy black Christian. I rarely meet a black Christian who is not cynical and sarcastic and judgmental and like, and then y'all always talking about the joy of the Lord and talking about ain't nobody finna steal your joy. Girl, your joy is so fragile. Your peace is so fragile. Like what type of God you serving? What type of God you serving? When you always bitter. Like God. And see that's why I like, you can't sit up here and talk about the joy of the Lord and the glory of the Lord and how good God is, and then 5 minutes later, child, you cussing somebody out and angry as hell. I think it's something going on. We need to cure. We need a cure for the meanness. Child, it's some wholeness. Their over righteousness make you extra wrongness. You got to be balanced in your thinking. They say they try to lie and tell you that you're being given over to a reprobate mind, but some things, some things we have to be willing to explore, or we'll just always be afraid of ourselves. We'll always be living in fear. We have to, we cannot, and that doctrine, because I grew up Christian, and I tell people this all the time. Like, if I would have just followed my calling, and I would have just denounced the trans community, and would have just went with Christianity, and if I would have been able to just stuff it down and just kept teaching that word and preaching that word, you know what I'm saying, I already be successful, because um the ancestors blessed me, to be able to communicate, to be able to speak passionately, to be able to, get downloads, to get messages, and to have discernment. Like, they gave me so many spiritual gifts, and they could benefit the church. Like, I could have really been of benefit to the Black Baptist Church. I could have been coined. All I had to do was denounce, the community. And you know how many times, like, the community don't do nothing for me now. Like, them girls, like, my community, for the most part, it's a few of them that really support me, but a lot of them don't. I could have been a trans Candace Owens and been around here getting my coins. I could have been a gay Creflo Dollar and been around here getting my coins. But my soul would have been tortured. My soul, I would have not have been happy. I would, like, my next life coming here and having to do this again and having to do the same work because I was stubborn and I didn't, follow through with my mission. I think that my life is difficult this time, but I think next time it's gonna be a little easier because of all the sacrifices I've made in this existence, all the sacrifices I've made in this life. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. The candy on another level. And she always like she get me how she always be talking about how she always be talking about females being erased and women being erased, and talking about how the trans community is erasing, women and all of that. But never in your mind has it crossed your mind that maybe praying to a man God and not having a woman nowhere in the Trinity, saying thank him, won't he bless me, didn't he do it, I love him, wonderful Father. Never in your mind, when you go to church every Sunday and you worship that man, did you feel like women were being erased? When you went and set up in that church and you heard the pastor preach that sermon that said that women was responsible for the fall of man, and she convinced Adam to eat that apple. Never, when you read the lineage of Jesus and it was all men, there was no women included when they were saying so and so begot and so and so begot and then so and so begot and then so and so begot. Like, there was no women in that whole conversation. You didn't feel like you were being erased as a woman then, but now you feel like trans women is erasing you. Now you feel like that. I think this train been got off the rails, if you ask me. And then what puzzles me even more so is when trans women go through all this trouble to be a woman so you can still worship a man. Make it make sense. Because some of y'all playing in my face. Some of y'all is RuPaul drag races. Some of y'all putting on them wigs and makeup, wanting your she pronouns and wanting to be referred to as a woman simply because you're using your male privilege to assert your dominance and your power. Some of y'all is a part of the problem. Some trans women are a part of the problem. Girl, you ain't got your name legally changed. You ain't got your ears pierced, girl. You ain't had nobody's surgery, girl. And you sitting up here want all the respect of a female, and you don't like nothing about females. You tolerate them. You don't really like them. And then you turn around and worship dick. You are a beautiful man. You are a lovely man. You are a founding father, because that's what they was. Men in tights and wigs and pressed powder and high heels and stockings. The founding fathers did all that. Wore tights, wore heels, blouses, wigs, rouge, pressed powder. You a whole evolved founding father. And you're calling yourself a woman. Girl, stop. And then you turn around and pray to a man. Mm-mm. So whenever people try to say, "Oh, the trans community," that's why I don't align like I don't deny the trans community, because I've given so much to the work of trying to elevate and advance them. So I don't deny the trans community, but some parts of it I'm not here for, and I'm not gonna co-sign. Like, I give respect to my elders who pray to Jesus. If I'm in their company, I respect them, but I'm not fixing to be quiet about how I feel. If you don't want to hear it, don't come on my platform. I'm not forcing you to hear it. You clicked on this video. So how you gonna get mad when you already know how I'm talking? You already know how I'm coming. So why would you be in your feelings? You already know how I'm coming. you already know what I'm about to give. You already know what I'm about to give. And for me, this this is my piece. Like, with that man killing himself, or if he did kill himself, because, like I said again, I'm not sure. With that man taking his life, like, for me, so many times I could have done the same thing, because sometimes I feel like this world don't deserve me, or this world doesn't deserve my presence. Like, this is hell, and I'm tired of, like, Harriet was. They say Harriet was freeing slaves, and they say Moses was freeing people. Child, I'm trying to wake people up, because this is hell. We in hell now. We're not getting the truth about who we are. We're not getting the truth about ourselves. And so I wake up every day to fight in this hell, to try to awaken some people, so that when it's time for us to ascend, y'all could go too. So you won't be stuck here. So you won't have to keep repeating this same vicious cycle. And some days I feel like saying, "Child, I'm chucking up the deuces. I'm a holler." You know what I'm saying? But I continue on in this fight, because I want to come back to a different reality. I don't want to come back to the same reality. And if it wasn't for me growing spiritually, and if it wasn't for me being in the place that I was in, I cannot promise you that I wouldn't be in the newspaper for doing some heinous ass shit. Like, if it wasn't for my art, if it wasn't for my spirituality, if it wasn't for my beliefs, if it wasn't for my understanding of myself, chill, I don't know, chill. Baby, I'd have gave a lot of people a real reason to dislike me. That's all I'ma say. then I'ma shut up. But she'd had a real reason to dislike me, honey. If I would have kept on with that Jesus stuff, because let me tell you, the stuff that always fascinated me with scripture was the killing, the sacrificing. When I was a child, that was my favorite parts in the Bible. I used to find little insects and bugs and set them on a stone and take a brick and sacrifice them and squash them. One time I tried to push a dog off a cliff because I was young. I was like 12 or 13 years old. I was trying to sacrifice it like Abraham was getting ready to do Isaac. I was always fascinated with sacrifice. I was always sacrificed with killing. And what helped me to get away from that was I had to step away from that religion. I had to step away from that because, child, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, and do unto them as you would have them do unto you. And I was with the shits. I was one of them Christians that was with the shit. So, baby, me moving away from that was for other people's safety. Not to say that I'm not still with the shit, but it's just not like every day I'm with the. It's not like I'm just living for the shit. Like, girl, I had to get me some balance, girl, because it was mass depression. You know what I'm saying? Because I felt like I was suppressing a part of myself, and so now I've gotten into this space where I can unleash a little of my chaos. I can have little outlets for my chaos. I get to express myself through my art, through my poetry, through my music, through my messages, and then every now and then I go and let off a little steam. And for the most part, I'm good. But when I was Christian, I felt like I always had to be righteous. I felt like I always had, to be so upstanding. I felt like I had to repress so much of myself and I had to hold so much back. And so it was, so when you do finally have that outlet, sometimes it can be explosive. We see all the time these examples of beings who we never heard nothing about. They were quiet, they were humble, and then one day they just snapped and took a whole school building with them, took a whole gay club with them, took a whole church house with them. But before that, we never heard any of that. They was a model citizen, and one day they just snapped. And I don't want that to be my narrative. So I snap a little bit every day. I let out a little every day. I get a little lost. I say I'm not the neighbor who gonna always have a cup of sugar. Sometimes you gonna get a lemon and vinegar. Amen, a woman, because I'm whole. And it take lemon to make lemonade. It ain't just sugar water. It take lemon to make lemonade. My God is God today. So yeah, that's it. I'ma go ahead and get off this line. But I love y'all. Thank you for watching. Thank you for coming on. This is therapy for me. You know, this is therapy. This is we got all our medicine right here, right here. Come on now. We got all that medicine right here, honey. Healing, being free by the blood of our testimony. Amen, a woman. Thank you, God, Goddess. Lay lim, lay lur. I love you. Down but down that I stay cool. We keep spinning and turning. Ian Gani, Iyanko Kalukalo, which means I'm a child of God, Goddess. And if I am, then you know you are. And light that candle. I didn't light one in this video, but light you a candle and, acknowledge past, present, and future, the Trinity, our ancestors who have come, our ancestors who are coming, and our ancestors who are here right now. Love y'all.